Imagine waking up in ancient Egypt, not as a pharaoh or a priest, but as an ordinary person whose only goal today is simple survival. Before you even open your eyes, the sun is already punishing you. It blasts through your reed hut with zero mercy, turning the air into a thick, suffocating weight on your chest. There are no curtains, no shade, no escape. You sleep on a rough straw mat, wrapped in a thin linen sheet that feels more symbolic than useful. By dawn, sweat already coats your skin, and the day hasn't even begun. The desert doesn't wait for you to wake up. It attacks immediately when you step outside. The heat is overwhelming. By mid-morning, temperatures hover near 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and they'll only climb higher. Your linen tunic offers little protection. There's no sunscreen, no hats, no cooling drinks. Unless you're wealthy, the protective oils used by elites are beyond your reach. Your best defense against the sun might be mud or animal dung smeared on your skin, a desperate attempt to avoid burning alive. Shade is rare. Trees are few. Mud brick walls radiate heat like ovens. And complaining isn't an option, because the sun isn't just weather here. It's a god watching your every move. If you're suffering, it simply means he's powerful today. Eventually, you make your way to the Nile, the lifeline of Egypt and also its greatest contradiction. From a distance, it looks peaceful, sacred, eternal. Up close, it smells like decay. This is where you bathe, drink, wash clothes, and draw water. Soap doesn't exist, so you scrub yourself with sand, scraping away dirt and sweat in a process that feels more like punishment than hygiene. Crocodiles lurk nearby. Leeches cling to your skin. Sewage from upstream flows freely. Funeral boats, animals, and humans all share the same water. Yet this river is holy. It gives life. Even as it quietly spreads disease after bathing, it's time for breakfast if you're lucky enough to have one. Forget luxury. Your meal consists of dense bread made from emmer wheat or barley, ground between stone slabs that leave grit embedded in every bite. You don't just eat bread, you eat sand. Over time, this slowly grinds your teeth flat. To wash it down, you drink beer, thick and cloudy, more like fermented porridge than anything refreshing. Children drink it too, not for pleasure, but because it's safer than the water. If fortune smiles on you, there might be onions or dried dates. Protein is rare. Hunger is normal. Then comes work, the true center of ancient Egyptian life. If you're a farmer, you spend the day knee-deep in mud, planting, harvesting, or hauling under the watchful eye of an overseer who believes shouting is a management skill. If you're a laborer, your job may involve dragging massive stones for temples and tombs, barefoot under a burning sun. There are no safety measures. One slip can mean broken bones or death. Tomb workers carve resting places for elites who will enjoy an afterlife far more comfortable than the life you're living now. Rest is minimal. Pain is constant. Women work just as hard, grinding grain, carrying water, weaving linen, caring for children, and often working in the fields as well. There is no real separation between labor and life. Everything is work. Slowing down means falling behind, and falling behind means less food. There is no clock to punch out. The sun decides when the day ends, and until it sets, you endure. Above all of this looms the pharaoh, not merely a ruler, but a living god. Questioning him isn't political dissent, it's blasphemy. His image is everywhere, carved into stone, painted on walls, stamped into daily life. He maintains Ma'at, the cosmic order. If the Nile floods correctly, it's because of him. If it doesn't, the blame somehow falls on people like you. Taxes are brutal. Rebellion is crushed without mercy. Entire villages can vanish for defiance. You serve with a smile, because pretending to be honored is safer than being honest, and becomes your constant companion. It's in your clothes, your bed, your food, your lungs. Windstorms can turn the air into a weapon, blinding and choking everyone in their path. Homes offer little protection. Mud brick walls crack. Floors fill with dust. Shoes are rare. Most people walk barefoot, their feet toughened by necessity. Even eating is an act of endurance. Every meal slowly destroys your teeth, a silent tax on survival, Religion surrounds everything. Gods govern every aspect of existence. Ra controls the sun. Osiris judges the dead. Thoth records your deeds. Badet protects the home. Set brings chaos. You pray constantly, not out of leisure, but fear. Even death offers no guarantee of peace. When you die, your heart is weighed against the feather of truth. Fail, and you're devoured by Amit, erased forever. Eternal life must be earned, and it favors the wealthy. If you're injured or fall ill, medicine is a blend of real knowledge and superstition. Doctors understand anatomy surprisingly well, but treatments involve spells, prayers, and strange mixtures. Honey and mold might help a wound, but chants accompany every procedure. Surgery happens without anesthesia. Dentistry is brutal. Pain is accepted as part of life. By nightfall, you collapse onto your mat, muscles screaming, skin cracked, lungs full of dust. Tomorrow will be the same. Survival in ancient Egypt isn't about glory or mystery. It's about endurance. One day here is a battle against heat, hunger, labor, fear, and the gods themselves. And this was considered normal life. By now, it should be painfully clear that surviving in the ancient world wasn't about comfort, innovation, or happiness. It was about endurance. And nowhere is that more obvious than when you look at the human body itself, slowly worn down by daily life. Remember all that sand baked into your bread? By your early 20s, your teeth are already ground flat. Cavities are common. Infections are deadly. If a tooth starts throbbing, you have 3 choices: live with the pain, die from the infection, or let someone yank it out with a crude metal tool forged by a blacksmith who definitely was not a dentist. No anesthesia. No mercy. Just pain, prayers, and hope you don't bleed out. Medicine in ancient societies walked a thin line between genuine insight and pure superstition. Egyptian healers understood anatomy surprisingly well, but every treatment came bundled with magic. Amulets dangled from necks during childbirth, surgery, or even minor illness, just in case the real problem wasn't bacteria, but an invisible spirit coiled around your organs. Honey, herbs, and mold were applied to wounds, sometimes effective, sometimes fatal. In the end, your best medical defense wasn't science. It was faith. Your bandage was a prayer. Now here's a twist most people don't expect. Ancient Egyptian women, at least legally, had more rights than women in many later civilizations. They could own property, run businesses, initiate divorce, and take men to court. On paper, it sounds remarkably progressive. But daily reality tells a harsher story. A woman's day begins before sunrise, grinding grain by hand on heavy stone slabs that destroy joints and spines over time. Then comes hauling water, cooking, caring for children, feeding animals, weaving linen, and often working in the fields as well. You're not just multitasking. You are the household engine. Childbirth is one of the greatest dangers of all. No epidurals. No sterile tools. Just midwives, incense, prayers, and hope. Bleeding, infection, and death are constant risks. Fashion doesn't offer much relief either. Linen dresses are light, but there's no underwear, no shoes, and insects treat your exposed skin like an open invitation. Makeup exists, yes, but it's often lead-based, applied with small sticks, and slowly poisons you over time. Beauty has consequences. If you're wealthy, life improves dramatically. You might read, write, manage estates, or become a priestess. If you're royal, you could even rule, like Hatshepsut or Cleopatra, powerful women wrapped in gold and political brilliance. But for most women, legal rights don't erase physical exhaustion. You are free under the law, but chained to survival. And when the day finally ends, death still waits patiently. Because in ancient Egypt, death isn't an ending. It's a trial. Your soul enters the hall of Ma'at, standing before 42 gods, forced to recite a moral confession. Then your heart is weighed against a feather. Fail, and Amit, a monstrous hybrid of crocodile, lion, and hippo, devours your soul. No afterlife. No second chance. Just erasure. Success means eternal life in the field of reeds, a perfect mirror of Egypt without suffering. That's why Egyptians obsessed over tombs, rituals, and the Book of the Dead. One mistake, one forgotten spell, and eternity is gone. Clothing offers only minor mercy. Linen is breathable and light, perfect for brutal heat, but it's the same outfit every day. Men wear short kilts. Women wear straight dresses. Shoes are rare. Laundry means scrubbing clothes in the Nile while hoping a hippo doesn't surface beside you. Bugs don't care how elegant your outfit is. They bite anyway. Sand sticks to your sweat. Seasons don't change. Only the heat does. Life expectancy is short. If you survive childhood, you're married and working by your early teens. Most people die before 35 from disease, injury, childbirth, or infection. But Egyptians weren't obsessed with avoiding death. They planned for it. Rich Egyptians built elaborate tombs filled with food, jewelry, perfumes, and shaptus, tiny servant figurines meant to work for them in the afterlife. Poor Egyptians were buried in shallow pits, wrapped in cloth, clinging to the same hope of eternal peace. Even death doesn't guarantee rest. Tomb robbery is rampant. Gold attracts desperate hands. Famines drive people to loot graves for food, tools, or linen. Pharaohs carved curses into walls, warning of divine punishment. Grave robbers came anyway. Sometimes they were even priests. In ancient Egypt, you could be robbed, erased, and forgotten long after you died. Writing itself was power. Hieroglyphs weren't decoration. They were sacred technology. Over 700 symbols, no vowels, flexible reading directions. Literacy belonged to scribes, a tiny elite trained from childhood. They avoided manual labor and quietly ran society through records, laws, and taxes. To erase a name from stone was to destroy a soul forever. Words had weight. Spelling mattered. After all this, the big question remains. Would you survive a single day in ancient Egypt? Without antibiotics, sunscreen, clean water, painkillers, or shoes? Probably not. The ancient world looks beautiful in museums, but behind the gold masks was relentless hardship. And yet, these people endured. They laughed, danced, celebrated festivals, raised families, and imagined eternity so vividly they carved it into stone. And this obsession with cosmic balance didn't stop in Egypt. Across the ocean, in the heart of Mesoamerica, another civilization rose with beliefs just as intense, just as terrifying. At Teotihuacan, the city where gods were born, massive pyramids towered over a population of more than 100,000 people. Beneath the temple of the feathered serpent, archaeologists uncovered over 200 sacrificed bodies, hands bound, heads removed, arranged with chilling precision. This wasn't chaos. It was ritual. The feathered serpent, later known as Quetzalcoatl, was both sky and earth, life and death. A god who demanded blood to keep the cosmos moving. The temple wasn't decoration. It was a message. Power flowed from sacrifice. Order required death. Teotihuacan ruled not with kings we remember, but with ideology carved into stone. In the ancient world, survival wasn't gentle. It was sacred, brutal, and expensive. Life demanded everything. Death demanded more. And somehow, against all odds, these civilizations lasted for centuries. Maybe not because life was easy, but because belief made it bearable. Beneath the sun-scorched stones of ancient Teotihuacan lies a truth so unsettling that it reshapes everything we thought we knew about one of Mesoamerica's greatest civilizations. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent was not merely a place of worship. It was a machine built to merge blood, belief, and the cosmos into a single system of control. For centuries, the temple stood in silence, its massive serpent head staring outward, half buried by time. Locals whispered legends. Scholars debated theories. But no one was prepared for what archaeologists would uncover when they finally broke through its foundations in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. What lay beneath was not chaos, not accidental death, but something far more disturbing: order. Hidden chambers and sealed pits revealed the remains of over 200 young men, carefully arranged in precise geometric patterns. These were not casualties of war or victims of disease. They were sacrifices, deliberate, systematic, ritualized. Many were between the ages of 15 and 25. Their hands were bound. Some wore necklaces crafted from human jawbones. Others had been decapitated. Obsidian knives, black and razor-sharp, lay nearby, the unmistakable instruments of ritual slaughter. And yet, this was not punishment. This was elevation. The bodies were placed according to cardinal directions, possibly mirroring the structure of the universe itself. The numbers mattered. The symmetry mattered. This was not about killing, it was about meaningful death. Surrounding the victims were offerings. Jaguar bones, serpent remains, exotic shells carried from the distant Gulf Coast, figurines, and unused obsidian blades reserved solely for sacred acts. To the people of Teotihuacan, these young men, likely elite warriors, were gifts to the gods. In their worldview, a temple could not rise without blood. Every layer of stone demanded an offering. The deeper archaeologists dug, the more sacrifice they found. It was as if the temple was not built upon death, but constructed to contain it. The stone was meant to hold blood, and all of it was meant for the gods. Beneath the temple, the discoveries grew even stranger. Archaeologists uncovered subterranean chambers and tunnels lined with mica and filled with pools of liquid mercury, materials associated with the underworld. The floors shimmered like water. Some believe this space symbolized a passage to the land of the dead. Others suggest it mirrored the night sky itself. To walk through it may have felt like traveling through the cosmos, descending into a sacred realm where earthly laws no longer applied. Look closer at the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, and its true nature begins to emerge. It does not merely sit on the landscape, it aligns with the universe. Teotihuacan was built along precise cosmic axes. Its central avenue of the dead runs at a deliberate 15-degree angle off true north, possibly aligned with the Pleiades or specific solar events. The temple itself sits perfectly along this avenue, locked into a celestial blueprint. Around 550 CE, the system began to crack. Evidence suggests prolonged drought, crop failure, and growing unrest. The centralized power that once held the city together became a liability. Then came the fire. Archaeologists found burn layers across elite compounds and temples, including the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. Residential areas were largely untouched. This was not invasion. It was rebellion. The temple was defaced. Sculptures smashed. Ritual spaces desecrated. The gods fell silent. Teotihuacan did not vanish overnight, but it lost its soul. Trade collapsed. Art ceased. Rituals stopped. The ruling elite disappeared. The city became a shadow. Centuries later, the Aztecs discovered its ruins. They believed gods had built it. They named it Teotihuacan, the place where gods were born. They revered the Temple of the Feathered Serpent without knowing its true creators. And perhaps that is the greatest irony. A civilization built on cosmic order and blood left no written record. Only stone. Only silence. Today, the temple still stands. Tourists take photos. Children run past the serpent heads. But beneath their feet lie hundreds of sacrificed lives and countless untold stories. The feathered serpent did not disappear. It transformed. Adopted by the Toltecs. Reborn by the Aztecs as Quetzalcoatl, the god of knowledge, the weeping god, the one who promised to return. The temple forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. How far will humans go to touch the divine? What happens when religion and power become inseparable? Can beauty coexist with terror? The Temple of the Feathered Serpent is not just a ruin. It is a mirror. It reflects humanity's hunger for meaning, our brilliance, and our capacity for darkness. And maybe that is why we keep returning. Because deep down we know the serpent is still watching. Long before humans carved symbols into stone or shaped words into language, they were already sending messages through rhythm. Across forests, plains, ice, and deserts, the drum became humanity's first voice, a sound powerful enough to travel farther than speech and deeper than meaning. It was not entertainment. It was survival. Across the Americas, Native tribes treated the drum as a living being. It was the heartbeat of Mother Earth itself. Played in sacred ceremonies, it honored ancestors, summoned healing, and guided the souls of the dead. The great powwow drum, struck by a circle of drummers, was more than music. It was a communal engine, aligning human breath with nature's pulse. Each beat reminded the people that they belonged, to the land, to each other, and to something unseen. In Australia, Aboriginal cultures used clapsticks, stomps, and percussion during the dream time, an eternal mythic age of creation. These rhythms were maps of memory, carrying stories of ancestors, landscapes, and cosmic origins. In the Arctic, Inuit shamans struck frame drums during long, dark winters, entering trance states to communicate with spirits and seek visions. These were not performances. They were acts of healing, remembrance, and survival. Wherever humans lived, drums brought people together. No stages. No audiences. Only circles. Hands striking skins. Feet meeting earth. Hearts synchronizing. To hear a drum in the distance meant something sacred was happening, something words could never fully express. But the drum did not remain only a tool of comfort. As societies grew into kingdoms and empires, rhythm was weaponized. The earliest armies had no radios, no loudspeakers. They had drums. In ancient China, massive war drums coordinated troops across vast terrain. A single thunderous rhythm could command a charge, a retreat, or a formation shift. Soldiers learned to listen through chaos, guided by rhythm alone. In Mesopotamia, temple drums announced rulers and echoed through city walls, instilling fear long before enemies arrived. Sound itself became psychological warfare. The Romans understood this power. Though horns dominated the battlefield, frame drums carried symbolic authority in religious and imperial processions. The sound of the drum became the sound of order, discipline, empire. But no civilization mastered military rhythm like the Ottomans. Their Mater bands, history's first military orchestras, unleashed an overwhelming storm of drums, cymbals, and horns before battle. European soldiers rode a freezing in terror, paralyzed by sound before even seeing the enemy. The drum did not merely accompany war. It announced domination. Even off the battlefield, drums enforced power. In royal courts across Africa, Asia, and Europe, drum ensembles marked coronations, arrivals, and rituals of authority. To beat the drum was to declare presence. Power is here. And yet, even under chains, the drum resisted. Enslaved Africans in the Americas used rhythm to preserve identity, communicate secretly, and organize rebellion. Colonizers feared drums so deeply that they banned them, because rhythm carried memory, and memory carried resistance. Still, the drum refused to be silenced. As civilizations expanded, rhythm evolved differently across cultures. In the East, drums leaned towards spirituality, precision, and ceremony. In the West, they leaned toward structure, military order, and eventually orchestral grandeur. Two philosophies. One heartbeat. In the early decades of the 20th century, skyscrapers emerged as symbols of branding warfare. Corporations didn't just want offices. They wanted immortality. A taller building meant a louder voice. Every extra floor commanded attention. Every silhouette burned a name into public memory. The skyline itself became a battlefield where prestige was measured in feet and shadows stretched across rivals. Beneath this competition, progress thundered forward. Steam shovels tore into granite, rivets screamed through the night, and workers balanced on naked beams hundreds of feet above the streets. No safety nets. No second chances. Just courage, hunger, and belief in tomorrow. Then came elegance. The 1920s brought Art Deco, transforming raw ambition into beauty. Buildings no longer simply rose, they performed. Nowhere was this clearer than the Chrysler Building. Its stainless steel crown shimmered like a promise of the future, its ornamental eagles guarding a new machine age. It wasn't just tall, it was seductive. But beauty could not end the race. The Empire State Building answered with sheer force of will. Built in record time during the Great Depression, It stood as defiance made physical. While the nation struggled, New York climbed. Its message was unmistakable. Endurance is power. After World War II, the skyline changed its voice. Ornament faded. Efficiency took over. Glass and steel replaced stone and myth. Towers became machines, clean, disciplined, corporate. The United Nations headquarters signaled global responsibility, while Lever House and the Seagram building redefined authority through restraint. These structures did not charm. They commanded. No longer proving itself, but managing the world it now led. That confidence reached its boldest form with the World Trade Center. Twin monoliths rising over Lower Manhattan, they embodied global commerce and absolute scale. Loved or criticized, they were undeniable. Until they were gone. September 11th shattered, not just steel, but certainty. The skyline broke, and with it, the illusion of invulnerability. For the first time, Manhattan looked upward in grief instead of ambition. Itself and continues forward. In steel and glass, it tells the story of a city that falls, remembers, and rises as a modern power.